Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new ProRevenge stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
The first one is titled, "Tell me to camp in your office?" Done, and I want all of my car's replacement value, too. So this isn't my story but my mum's. The woman is the master of malicious compliance and pettiness when someone upset her. So when I was about 9, my mum was involved in a car accident that wasn't her fault, but destroyed our car. The car was a complete write-off. It was about 2 weeks before our scheduled summer holidays and mum just wanted the replacement value of the car. She had another car all picked out. She just needed her check from our provincial insurance to pay for it. The difference between what they were fighting about was about $400 back in 1994. And my mum was bound and determined she was getting the full replacement value. She just wanted to get a new car so she could take us camping for our holidays. The insurance adjuster declined mum 3 times. And she was just getting more and more upset. She had every single piece of documentation for the value of her car and the replacement costs, and that was all she wanted. As a last-ditch effort, she even tried reasoning with the adjuster that she had 3 small girls and she just wanted this sorted so she could take her girls on holiday. His exact words were, "You can have your holiday in the office here for all I care, it's not my problem, this is our final offer." Well, my mum took that as a dare. Bright and early Monday morning, mum showed up at the insurance adjuster's office with a picnic lunch and 3 girls with toys in hand to have her holiday right there in the office. Their crown corporations, province-owned, and their office and lobby spaces were classed as a public area back then. So they couldn't make her leave. So a 9, 7 and 5-year-old are playing quite happily and rambunctiously since we'd been told we were on holiday and didn't need to use our going-out manners. Which I'm sure you can imagine isn't quiet at all. The insurance adjuster called the police to have us removed and show up only to greet my mum by name since she cut their hair and explained to them that it's a public service office and they can't force us to leave unless we enter an employee-only area or stay outside of business hours. One of the officers even sat down with us and was having a cup of pretend tea at our tea party. My mum proceeded to tell every customer who asked for the whole morning that she just wanted replacement value for her car. She was just a poor single mum with 3 kids and they'd made it so we couldn't go camping on holiday, but the adjuster had kindly offered to let us have our holiday in their office. With a big grin every single time. About 1:30 p.m. it's time for nap time for my youngest sister. But of course, it's too loud, too bright, and she's ridiculously overstimulated and also tired and needs that nap. So like most overstimulated and tired children, she kicks off in a huge sobbing tired tantrum. Full volume sobbing about how she wants to sleep and go camping. She easily went full volume for at least 30 minutes. My mum didn't bother to quiet her, just soothed her back. At that point, the division manager came out and asked to speak to my mum. So I got told to stay put and mind my sisters for a minute. My mum came out 5 minutes later, full value check in hand, a big smile on her face, thanked the manager. Packed us up, picked up my sobbing baby sister. Took us home, called the sitter to come over, and came back 2 hours later with our new-to-us car with a brand new hitch to tow our hard-top tent trailer, packed and ready to go, and we set off to go camping. The next one is titled, "Start Preaching." I'll slip you a dirty magazine. When I first started working at the national bookstore chain, they put me at the cashier. One of the many things I had to learn was what adult magazines we kept under the counter. I have never seen a grown man blush so hard as when my boss had to go through and show me all the magazines we sold. Technically, he didn't have to show them all to me one by one. He just turned so red at the mention of the dirty magazines that I couldn't help but play dumb and have him explain each one to me individually. Anyhow, about the time he was explaining Biker B** chess, I'm not sure of the exact name, but think black leather, chrome, and ladies, the door dings as a customer walks in and my manager lets out a long groan. Apparently, the frumpy-looking woman who had just walked in the door was a troublemaker. Every month she would come in and buy the trashiest romance novels she could find in the bargain racks and try to use expired or fake competitors' coupons to take 40 to 60% off the clearance price. If the cashier refused, as they should, an argument would ensue. It always ended with a manager coming over and giving her a discount to get her to leave. That's not why he groaned though. Before she starts shopping, she makes a point of approaching as many of our other customers as she can find and says something like this: "Did you know they sell pornography here?" She would say with an indignant scowl, "If it wasn't the only bookstore within walking distance, I wouldn't set foot in here. I can't see how any good Christian would." Good would be emphasized in such a way as to imply that all other people in the store were the spawn of Satan. My manager and I eavesdropped on one of her exchanges because he thought I didn't believe him when he said how bad she was. So here's a lady that would buy books that make hookers blush, and she was judging. When my boss and I got back to the register, he told me to give her what she wants, any discount, just get her out. He hurries away so as not to be caught, and I make a small purchase in anticipation of my interaction with her. Shortly thereafter, she comes to the register with her cut-rate romances and slams them down. She squints up at me and says, "I can't believe a good Christian boy like you would work in a place like this." "What do you mean?" I say. "They sell magazines here." She says, waggling her eyebrows suggestively. "Yes ma'am, the magazines are at the back of the store. Did you need help finding one?" I say helpfully. "No, dirty magazines." She says, wagging her finger in my face. "Yes, we have those too. Which would you like?" I say, pulling out a stack of the raunchiest ones I could grab and putting them on the counter. Her face blanches. "Put those away, I don't want them." I don't know how she managed it, but she seemed to whisper and yell this at the same time. "But I thought you..." I say innocently as I put the offending material back below the counter. "Never mind what you thought," she says, "just ring up my books and here's my coupon." "Yes, ma'am, not problem ma'am," I say as she hands me 3 books marked down to $3 with an expired Borders coupon for 40% off one book. I ring her up. "That'll be $6.12, is there anything else I can help you with today?" "Here," she says, handing me her credit card, "and for heaven's sake find yourself another job." I handed her the credit slip to sign. While she was preoccupied, I slid her books and the copy of Biker B********************** HES I had purchased when my boss had walked off, into a plastic bag. "Have a great day," I said cheerfully. She grabbed the bag and humped out the door. As far as I know, she never came back. The next one is titled, "Car Vandalized and Expelled for Reporting It." No way, Jose. Jose, name changed, and I had been casual friends since elementary school. I say casual because I treated him as a friend, but he would constantly bully and ostracize me in front of our friend group, dumping pig sh*t in my shoes, stealing from me, lying to teachers to get me in trouble, etc. Just an all-round total dick since birth, really. But he was friends with my friends, so the little shit was always stuck to the heel of my shoe. Enter high school, senior year. Jose and I had drifted apart years before, but we were still on acquaintance terms and had similar friends. During that time, I experimented with weed once. Literally just 1 or 2 tokes off a J at a friend's place, but to some people, especially in high school, that makes you the burnout queen. Jose was one of those people. Jose also loved making people's lives miserable every chance he got. It was a genuine hobby of his. So when he found out I'd smoked, he was in heaven. He took it as a personal invitation to begin tormenting me harder than ever before. And that's when I started to notice the dents in my car. At first it was small, a tiny ding here, some trash on the windshield there. But I quickly realized I was being targeted, and I knew he was the only one capable of that kind of petty bullshit. At first, I did the reasonable thing, I went to the school. I let him know that someone was vandalizing my car and that I had a strong suspicion it was Jose. Simple as that. So they said they'd handle it, let me go, and called for Jose to come to the office. Great. They'll take care of it, right? It's all settled now, right? Wrong. So. Ducking. Wrong. The next day I was called back to the office, and there was a security guard sitting there with the principal. They sat me down and explained that Jose had informed them I was dealing drugs at the school. What? The duck. I have not once in my ducking life, to this ducking day, ever sold drugs of any kind. It's just not my thing. But of course, the almighty school policy states that this accusation alone is grounds for expulsion, and that's exactly what the principal was planning to do. What? So I come to you, Mr. Principal, accusing a student of bullying me. He tells you an obvious lie to deflect the blame onto me, and you buy it? And he gets off scot-free. No way. I immediately defended myself to this waterbrain principal and his lackey, explaining that Jose's accusation was an obvious lie. But they weren't having it. We have a zero-tolerance policy for drugs of any kind, and we take these issues seriously. Okay, so that didn't work, and now I'm facing expulsion months before graduating. They gave me about a week to get Jose to rescind his accusation or I'd be expelled, so fair. Time to take matters into my own hands. Again, I tried the reasonable thing first. I called Jose and told him that we both knew the truth, and that if he didn't rescind his false accusation, I'd duck his life up. If I had to, I'd get lawyers involved. Jose, of course, laughed at me and told me to duck off. Ha. Okay. I tried to play nice. From there, I did what any high school ganja goddess would do in this situation. I played dirty. The night of that phone call to Jose, I put all the preparations in place. It was so easy. All I had to do was tape a camcorder to the sun visor in the front seat of my car, park in the school lot and hit record. See, Jose knew I'd accused him of vandalizing my car, but I had a feeling he was too stupid and evil to stop. So I waited. For the first couple of days, nothing. I would sift through the hours of footage each night and come up empty. I started to get worried Jose was onto me, and the plan wouldn't work. But then it happened. I was fast-forwarding through yet another day's worth of video when suddenly, a body shifts into frame, directly in front of my car. It's Jose. I watch as he and some friend of his stand there, inspecting my car, looking for something to fuck up that wouldn't get him in trouble, holes. Then, he does it, standing directly in front of the hidden camera, face in full view. He spits a giant rope of snot directly onto the hood. Jackpot. I could hardly wait to get to school the next day. First thing, I near sprinted to the principal's office and handed off the video in a pretty yellow envelope. Then I walked off to class with the biggest justice boner I've ever experienced. Later that day, the principal called me down for a final chat. Apparently, after they'd shown Jose the footage, he'd had a massive moment of clarity and realized that I actually hadn't been dealing drugs. Shocker. And due to the spitting, unfortunately I didn't get footage of him actually damaging my car. Jose would receive a 2-week suspension. LOL. So for the next fortnight, Jose was gone, and I got to float around campus like the true weed empress I deserved to be. No way, Jose. The next one is titled, Sorry, Bullies Don't Get Brand New Cars for Their 16th Birthday. I have a hearing loss and wear hearing aids. There was this girl in high school, who, for some reason, felt the need to make fun of me for it. It was always in algebra class. She sat kitty corner from me, and would moan like she was mentally disabled while adjusting her hearing aid, among other things. I still don't understand why, because I never had anything to do with her, or even interacted with her at all. Anyway, this was around the time that cell phone cameras became more popular. I had a couple of buddies in the class, and one of them had one of the cell phones. I had him record some of her making fun of me. I could have gone to the principal, and he probably would have just chewed her out, and sent her back to class. I decided to go for the jugular. I took the video to her house and showed it to her mum and dad. I grew up in a really small town, so I knew where she lived, and her parents and mine knew each other fairly well. Needless to say, her parents were livid at her. This next part is what I was after. I knew this was going to happen, so I tried everything I could to take it away from her. She didn't get the flashy new car she was going to get for her 16th birthday. She also didn't get to go to prom that year. She never said another word to me, and I can't say I regret what I did. I still don't. The next one is titled, Steal My Tips? I'll catch you red-handed. When I was 18, I was working in the 5-star hotel cleaning rooms and changing sheets to make some extra money while studying. The job was very bad and paid €2 per hour, but sometimes guests would leave tips for us for the cleaning, and usually one tip was half of our day salary. We shared among the housekeeping girls and we were okay with it. One day, our manager came in and forbid us to enter the rooms after the guests checked out. He said he has to go in first to make sure that guests left nothing behind in the room. It sounded reasonable, as sometimes guests claimed they forgot some jewelry in the room, and when we did not find it we were accused of stealing it. It was very uncomfortable for us, so we agreed that a manager checking the room first is a good idea. But from that day on we were not finding the tips anymore. Well, sometimes there was €1 left, but that's it. Of course, the first thing in my mind was that the manager is taking our tips. I wanted to make sure, so I entered one room before he got in and saw a nice tip and box of chocolates on the table with the thank you note for the cleaning girl. I left it the way it was. Then the manager got in and after checking it he confirmed the room is okay for us to clean. When I came in again, of course, the tip was gone and so was the chocolate box. I found it in the trash with all the chocolates eaten. Unbelievable. I understand that everyone is after money, but this one was so shameless. He even ate all the chocolates for the cleaning girls. I got really angry, but he was my boss and I was 18 years old. I did not know how to confront him directly as I would have to accuse him of stealing, which was serious and difficult to prove. So I wrote a note, "You sneaky little tard, you go around bullying us for our work all the time and then you have the nerve to steal the money meant for us? Shame on you. V." I put the note in the envelope together with some coins, closed it and I wrote, "Thank you, Veronica," on it, so it looked like a note from the guest. The guests knew our names as we left the notes with our names after the cleaning. I placed the envelope in one room just before the manager came in to check it. I was thinking, if he won't open the envelope, no harm was done because he never finds out what is inside. But if he opens the envelope, which is clearly not meant for him, he gets exactly what he deserves. But the most satisfying thing was that he can't cover up once opening the envelope as there was my handwriting all over it. I was waiting in front of the room when he gets out. Well, you can guess what happened. He ran out totally furious, completely red, shaking and kicking the door. I was standing right in front of him, looking in his eyes, an 18-year-old girl, no less. He was so angry but didn't say a word to me. I won. Of course, he figured out there is nothing he can do as he was caught in the act and doing anything about it would mean he has to admit he was stealing. I found the envelope torn apart all over the room. Next day, he invited me into his office, offered me a drink. I did not realize it was okay to drink during a shift, but apparently most of the hotel managers did. He apologized, explaining how stressful his work is and that he needed money for this and that reason. He pleaded not to tell on him, promising that he will stop. He seemed so scared and helpless I was almost sorry for him. I told him to be nicer to us, that everybody working here is under stress. I think he understood. He never escalated this issue anymore, neither did I anyway. He was fired 2 months or so later, so I guess his habits got him somewhere else. The next one is titled, "Touch Me While I'm Sleeping. I'll Cut You." This was the very early 80s and I often took Greyhound buses to go across the state, etc. So I was on an overnight bus ride. It was probably the middle of the night and we stopped to let some more people on. The bus wasn't crowded, still, a man in a suit sat next to me. That was okay. I was tired, I planned to sleep. I covered up with a blanket and since I am petite, I was able to cross my legs on the seat and lean back comfortably. I was woken up sometime later by the lightest, briefest touch on my thigh under the blanket. I didn't move but lay there wondering if I had imagined it. I mean, I had tucked the blanket in around me. I couldn't understand how the man had managed to get under the layers without me noticing. I am a very light sleeper. Plus, I had lived with the fear of scorpions in my bed. I was in the Middle East for weeks, and I had gotten into the habit of waking up in the middle of the night and lying still as a stone in case one was under the covers with me. Instead of reacting, I lay there and waited. And in a minute or so, yes, I could feel his hand move by the merest fraction of an inch. It was hovering just over my leg. I was stunned. How had he done it? How had he kept his hand and arm so still? How had he worked his hand under the blanket which was over me without me knowing? I turned to look at him and he appeared to be sleeping. And then I got mad. I carried a knife with me. I slowly pulled it out of my bag I was using for a headrest against the window. I unsheathed it and held it under the blanket over my lap. Then slowly, very slowly I moved it, very slowly until the tip was against the man's hand. It was a very sharp knife. The hand moved slowly back. Then I pushed harder and faster and his hand became tangled in the blankets. He didn't have a chance. During this entire encounter, I didn't look at him and just appeared asleep. He managed to get his hand out but I drew blood and he got up and left me alone. The last one is titled, "Putting Rotting Shark Meat in Her Locker Made Her a Better Person." Long story short, bully chick picking on lots of people, and then finally one of my friends, so my dad, brother and I devised a great plan. We bought shark meat and cut it into super thin pieces, then froze it solid. We picked shark because I heard that it stunk the worst. Shrimp would have been better but we couldn't cut those into slivers as easily. So, the plan was to shove the frozen shark meat into her locker slots, some lockers have them, and let it rot over the weekend. The best part was, we had Easter break the following week, so it was more like 10 days. The timing was so perfect. My art teacher asked me to take my project home over the break to finish it up, and I needed my dad to help me carry it down to the car after school. That's when we sharked her locker. I told only one friend that I was doing this. She loved the idea but was more concerned with me getting expelled. So when we got back from break, I remember being so nervous that I got caught. I saw the flies buzzing around her locker. Lockers were outside. I felt bad for whosoever locker was under hers. All day through classes you didn't hear a thing. The girl also was not to be seen. Finally, last class of the day happens to be religion class, yay Catholic school. During prayer time no one offered any prayers for the girl. The teacher finally gave in and spoke her prayer for her and stated how terrible it was. Then all the gossip broke loose. No one knew how they got in her locker. Some felt she deserved it. Some felt it was a random act of evil because it also happened to be April 1st. They all thought it was chicken skin because apparently we had baked chicken that week. I only wish I could have seen it. The bully was nice the rest of the school year and then didn't come back for 10th grade. She had to buy new textbooks, rewrite some homework, notes. She lost photographs and her blazer, school uniform requirement, worth $180. I waited until my graduation day, at the after party, to make my announcement. No one believed me at first until my one friend spoke out to prove it. The looks on all their faces, the awe. What a moment of glory. Totally ducking worth it. Thanks for listening.